I always smile when I see one of our clients' logos or taglines that says, "Because we love this business." And I think I fit in that category. I think that I do love this business. It's my job, it's my living, it's my livelihood, it's my future. It's been my past for the past 15 years. But the fact it's my hobby is I guess, the motivation. I wanted to be a fisherman. That was my sort of life at school. I always enjoyed the technical side of school, and I had never much trouble with maths and arithmetic and bits and bobs. But fisherman was the goal. Tried it, hated it. Absolute respect for these guys. These guys that go out there and catch the fish supper. Well done them. My career really started as a diesel engineer. A marine engineer, I think, is how they classed us. But this was a hands-on, harbour-based apprenticeship. As my career developed, I sort of slanted towards some of the removals and replacements of the propulsion plants rather than the overhauling them. And that usually, because of the layout of fishing boats, meant you dismantled the complete hydraulic system to move the engine through the bulkhead, the fish room bulkhead, to get the engine up out of the vessel to put in a new one. And I guess I just quite like that hydraulic part. Life since then has been pretty interesting. Maritime Developments is 15 years old now. And I guess the first half of the journey of Maritime Developments wasn't focused.
We used to work out of the small premises that we have our offices in, and in that shed was our offices, canteen, toilets, machine shop, fab shop, and engineers assembly area, and the store. So every morning we had to go in, take everything out. You went in an hour early to take everything out to clear it for working that day, and then at night you took everything back in.
My background when I joined was purely in the marine industry, but mainly in fishing boats and the hydraulic systems in fishing boats. And Derek's company at the time were solely concentrating on that, with the odd few oil jobs that were creeping into his business. And then it slowly progressed from there into more and more bigger jobs for the oil industry, and the fishing side started to quieten down a bit to where we are today. So with 95% oil related jobs were on there.
I would guess around the 2008 mark, that's when I started to realise that there was some real use for our fishing skills out with the fishing industry. It's surprising how close the skills are between the two marine jobs. The language is completely different, health and safety culture, massive change. But fundamentally the skill set we have, or had in the fishing industry, was ideal to transfer across into the oil and gas sector. In the niche part that we've chosen to operate in, which is back deck equipment.
Derek is well established in the fishing industry, tried and tested. The equipment he built was well thought, well constructed and proven in a harsh environment. So he had the basics there. He knew exactly what the climates was and what he had to do to build something good. Once he started building equipment for the offshore industry, primarily for one company, it was a joint venture between the two, and he knew exactly how to execute it, and he did. And it's the company he built for is still renting out the same equipment, and it's faultless. Very few problems developing with him.
The big thing back in 2008 was that we didn't actually have a fabrication facility. That was the thing that held us back. We had a workshop and we had a couple of fabrication guys, but we didn't have a full-blown facility with overhead cranes and the toys that you need to deliver complete systems. So back in the day, we did have the ability to build the power packs in-house. We did have the ability to do the system design, with the ability to design the equipment. And we designed a range of tensioners, both the side loading and top loading tensioners. Then when we completed our fabrication facility, we then were able to deliver these products in-house. I guess the growth at MDL from the start through till about the 2010 mark was we had one offshore oil and gas client, locally based in Peterhead, really handy, easy work, I guess, when I look back in time. And we built a huge amount of their rental fleet at that time. And I guess they kept coming back to us because it was reliable and it worked straight out the box. That was a good relationship. But the thing is that I just felt we could do more. I felt we could offer more. And I felt we were sort of being hidden behind their brand. And that meant that we were never going to develop beyond what they allowed us to do. So we decided to take that into our own control. And we decided, I think this is around the 2010 mark now, to brand our own equipment. We didn't want to be pigeonholed into being a fabricator or being a hydraulic tech shop. We wanted to build a brand, a maritime brand. And I guess we got a bit of resistance to our old established client, but new clients came along, it loved it. And that's where we focused our energy.
Initially from small scale jobs in the oil industry, which we were covering quite easily, and as we built up a little bit of reputation, where we were getting the challenge to do bigger jobs, and that for us was the biggest challenge in-house, because then everything has to change. You have to size up to meet the size of the jobs. So that was the big thing for us, just having to step change it as we went. But it was all done quite quickly in quite a short space of time.
You could say that the years previous to the directors joining was the runway years, and the takeoff happened when they joined. But the runway period has been a long period. It's been a period that you've got to lay the foundations. You've got to put some of the skill sets in place. I think the lucky thing was I chose two directors that I'd had a relationship and knew for years. George McIntosh, I served my time with George McIntosh in the harbour, so in the harbour industry. So that was a no-brainer. And Mike Gaskin had worked with George for 16 years and I'd known him well. So it was easy to make that transition. I'd always had the direction in my own head what I needed. And when you want to do something, you recognise the skill set you don't have and you take that on board. And that's what I did with Mike and George.
I had 22 years of a company before this, and that's all it was a rental of pipe and cable lay equipment. Probably the biggest company in the globe for that services, and was a main part of growing that over the years, from sort of one machine to 30 or 40 machines in the end. With Derek's knowledge and what he was expertise, and then we kind of knocked our heads together and solved a few problems with the role that I had in the other company, and we just, I guess, built him a relationship, and he brought ideas to my table, and we brought them forward together. So I guess Derek, or Maritime Developments, was a part of making that company grow as well, because they were bringing a bit of innovation to it. It was never really recognised for what it was, you know.
Yeah, it was a strange one, because George McIntosh was always one of our biggest clients at the time, and I would quite often be up at his old premises commissioning some equipment, and so I had quite a good relationship with George before he came here, and I think we've just built on that. It was good to know him before he came to MDL, but it's definitely been a step in the right direction. I think for the original guys that were here to start with, there was only I believe, 8 or 9 of us. Up until that point, full time. So when we were aware that there was going to be a big change, there was going to be new directors coming in, it is a bit of a worry. You think, well, where are we going? Obviously we're going to try and go bigger, and we knew that was Derek's ambition to go bigger. So yeah, I think the guys that were here originally were a little bit worried, but I think within 6 months of the transition and everybody set in place, I think we realised then that everybody's singing on the same hymn page, and we're going to give this a real good shot, which we're still doing.
Our electrical department has been a huge success story for MDL. It's, I guess in the early months it was driven because our client was driving for electrical driven equipment instead of hydraulic driven equipment. And we're a hydraulic company, I guess, in the core. And but we recognise that if we're going to be serious about delivering electric winches, we cannot just expect to stick a electric motor on instead of a hydraulic motor and then pass the whole building of the control system, which in my view is the most important part of a system, to a third party. So we started an electrical department more or less to start getting the experience in-house. And we chose the easy parts first, and as time's gone on we've progressed and progressed.
When I first started in July 2012, they never thought that they thought they might grow the team to 5. They never thought they would get any bigger than that. And when they said 5 to me, I thought that was huge for the type of company we were. And I didn't see where we were going to get the work from to employ 5 people. So I thought it was a bit of pie in the sky at the time. But I was wrong. Completely wrong. And what they were, we're now working with 8 guys, and right now we haven't got enough. It was a massive decision to leave where I was because it was a very successful company and still is. But I have no regrets in it because the company I've joined, I would have to say, is much more into research and development and trying to improve. They never ever rest on their laurels. They're always looking to improve what clients say is already a good product, even if it's at our cost, which most usually is. So, and there's never any hesitation from them on it. If it's a better thing to do, they just do it.
When was it that the guys came on board?
A little over 2 years ago. 2 years past May. Mike came on board. He came on board first, and that was really to take the business to the next level. I think I had decided at that point I wanted to be a rental company, but still maintain the delivering projects as capex projects for clients. But we had definitely decided we wanted to be part of the rental market.
Position came in to primarily to be involved in training the guys for going offshore. The way things have gone, we've been a lot busier than what I was expecting, and the guys have come on leaps and bounds. So now hopefully I can stay more onshore and keeping the guys fed with information and making sure that there's guys available for going offshore. You knew exactly when George and Mike came across, they had the contacts, they had the knowledge, firstly, and it was a no-brainer. You knew the progression, the expansion was going to happen.
Our first campaign offshore was a good experience start to finish. I think in the lessons learned roundup meeting at the end, one of our client reps said that it was the first time he had seen deck equipment built for tomorrow instead of being cobbled together for today. And that made me smile. That made me smile.
Whether it's through good luck or good fortune, we've been getting real positive feedback about the equipment and, more importantly for me, is the personnel. You know, because they're the ones that's carrying the badge on the boiler site. The company's focus is still on manufacturing, because we've still to put ourselves in a place where we've got to be able to fund the business to allow the hire business to grow. But as time goes on, we'll be able to shift the balance in that and probably be able to build more of our own equipment rather than just focus on manufacturing to sell.
I think roll the clock back 6-10 months and we were seen as a bit provider, maybe someone you'd go to build a tensioner or build a reel drive. But we struggled to get clients to realise we can deliver a whole spread. And I guess it's only in recent times that we could. Although technically we could have built all the parts, we just didn't have the depth of company to deliver a complete spread. And I'm excited that we now have that depth. We now have the depth of company to deliver the complete spread. And I'm really excited that we're now being recognised by some of the massive players in the industry that we can do this.
I've been involved with a lot of different companies that are, you've really gone in to fix problems in a sense, and I didn't really feel there were that big problems, that many issues. So it was quite a robust company. I think the fact that it's expanded and become so successful, it's created other problems, the planning and coordination, communication issues. But at the end of the day, I was brought in prior to those issues happening. So there was a vision from Derek, George and Mike that they could see that was coming, and they were trying to resolve that. We're delivering on time at the end of the day. That's what we want to deliver, and the confidence in the team is that we've time to review the product. We've put it together, we're commissioning it and testing it, and the confidence that when we go into an FAT now compared to the beginning of the year is just a massive difference. I think you see that from the guys, the way that they behave and they plan and organise around the FAT. That they do all the work up front to make sure that customer interface works really well.
I couldn't stand selling fish suppers. I couldn't do that job every day. I love it, interacting with people. I love that part of the job. I love going to meetings to hear about new problems, and I love sitting down internally with the guys and bouncing the ideas about how we're going to solve them. You know, how are we going to rip the cost out of mobilising a vessel? That's a challenge. And I truly believe that none of the rental companies actually sit down to say, what does our client truly want here? What can we do that will make our client smarter, more efficient? I think that's a unique selling point of MDL, is that the engineers or clients understand we're big enough to deliver the piece of equipment they want, but they know we're small enough to be able to optimise it to what they really want. And that gives us an edge.
We've got a very open culture, open and engaged culture within the group. So although a lot of the ideas are coming from George, Mike and Derek, there are other ideas that are coming from the guys that are operating the equipment. So because people are open to those ideas, they're getting rolled into our innovation process as well, and developed into the new products that will come out next year or the year after.
The last 2.5 years have been pretty revolutionary, really.
Yeah.
It has been a huge speed of development. Did you expect that to be happening?
Yes, that's why I came here. It's, I mean, at the end of the day, we trebled the directorship or the ownership of the company. We said we can share the load more. Derek doesn't have to do everything that he was having to do himself, and it's made us, and we've achieving some of the things we wanted to achieve by growing the staff, you know, to be able to deliver. So, is it beyond expectation? I don't know, but I look back and I guess I'm already proud of what we've done in a very short space of time. And if we do exactly the same again and keep bringing the new ideas to the table, so we're thinking for tomorrow rather than for yesterday, then we'll certainly be meeting some of our objectives.
I've been offered a couple of jobs, not recently, more in the past when we were again a smaller company, and obviously everybody's got big horizons they're looking at. But I was never. I still felt as though here was the place to be. Probably because Derek was always telling me it was going to be, you know, it's going to change, and he's been true to his word so far, and we're still going, so it's good. Yeah.